Welcome back to NBA Cinema. So we have to talk about what's going on within the New York Knicks organization. People looking at Rick Brunson being investigated because of his promotion to assistant on Tom Thibodeau's staff, and so everybody, well, actually not everybody, the league office made a call to the Knicks talking about the time of his promotion, which with his promotion he got a salary increase, and so people looking at it funny and they're like, wait a minute, we're not looking at how this whole Bronny, LeBron, JJ Redick, all the things that happened around the Lakers offseason, none of that is looked at as, somewhat fishy. But the Jalen Brunson thing to the Knicks and, him taking a pay cut and his father getting a promotion, they like, okay, Jalen Brunson took that pay cut so that his dad can get more money. And people's looking at it like that. That's what the league office is calling about. So we're going to look, man. We're going to see how Rick Brunson's resume actually stacks up, because I don't think there's much of a case here when you look at it. Now, Brunson worked as an assistant coach back in 2007 with the Denver Nuggets. And he was like a player development coach back at that time. After he left in 2007, he went to the University of Virginia and he was the director of basketball operations. In 2009, he was an assistant coach for a D3 team, the Hartford Hawks. On September 8th, 2010, he was hired by the Chicago Bulls, and it's worth noting that's where Jalen Brunson and Derrick Rose got to know each other. Thibs was the coach for the Bulls at the time, so he was on a Thibs staff at that time as an assistant coach. So it's not outside the realm of possibility to think that, he would be coaching. But let's look at his resume. 2012 to 2013, he was an assistant coach to Mike Dunlap on the Charlotte Bobcats at the time. In 2016, he was hired as an assistant coach with Thibs when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Brunson has been on these staffs with Thibs multiple times. He coached DeJuan Wagner Jr., who's now in Arkansas, played his freshman year at Kentucky, and he coached there until 2022. In 2022, he was hired by the New York Knicks. So here we go, right? We're here now. And I just want to point that out because Brunson has a nice resume. Now let's look at JJ Redick's resume. Has a podcast, Old Man in the Three. Started a podcast with LeBron James. There was rumblings about Charlotte was somewhat interested in JJ becoming a head coach. But if you look at it, JJ hasn't done anything to warrant him being the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. That's typically a position you would like to see someone work themselves up in the ranks to get. And you have other guys out there who are qualified coaches. And on top of that, he was throwing little shade at Darvin Ham, while the season was still going on, while he was still the active coach. And LeBron, helped facilitate that by JJ, by doing the podcast with JJ. And it received even some backlash from some of his closest people. Draymond said, you won't come on my show, and you started one with JJ. You had even Shannon Sharpe and some of those people start to speak out against LeBron James in a way that they had never done before. And so you look at that. That's one thing I want to look at that should have been investigated. And then you look at Bronny. During the draft, they're saying that teams are or Rich Paul is calling teams saying, don't draft Bronny, don't draft Bronny. We'll play overseas if you do it. He will never report to camp. These are the reports that was coming out, on draft night. And so they selected him with the 55th pick after having a less than subpar season at USC and also having a health scare, right? So he didn't really get to develop the way he could have at the collegiate level. And so he comes in, he has 2 decent games in summer league, but even before he played a summer league game, he got a $7.9 million contract that was guaranteed. And so it's no pressure on him to perform because he will be with the team, while some of the other players who are deserving of those salaries, Quincy Olivari has been the one who's kind of taken off, just people watching him play and seeing if it was just strictly about basketball, he would definitely be the guy who the Lakers are calling up and down, throughout the season if they didn't have a roster spot for him. So I think this is crazy when you look at it, And I'm going to say what the Knicks said in response to this, but we're going to read a little bit of this report and what they're trying to accuse the Knicks of. It says, the NBA has contacted the Knicks recently about the promotion of assistant coach Rick Brunson and whether it violates league salary cap rules. The Knicks on Monday night called the NBA's questioning of the matter harassment and offensive. In response to the rumored NBA investigation into Rick Brunson's promotion, Brunson took former associate head coach Johnny Bryant's place and assumed the same salary as Bryant. It's offensive that anyone would claim Rick didn't deserve the promotion, MSG Sports said in a statement. Rick has done a tremendous job and will continue to do so. We see this as more harassment of the Knicks due to our opposition to certain NBA matters. And so it says Rick Brunson was promoted in the 2024 offseason. His son Jalen Brunson signed a contract extension in the same offseason that was seen as team friendly because Jalen could have made more money as a free agent in 2025. The insinuation is that Rick Brunson's salary is compensation for the salary that Jalen Brunson passed on by signing a 4-year, $156 million extension last summer. In the 2025 offseason, the star point guard would have been eligible to sign a $270 million max contract in free agency. It is worth noting that Rick Brunson's new contract per NBA sources is within industry standards for top assistant coaches. So it's not like he was plucked out of thin air. Like I said, I read it off his resume earlier because I wanted you guys to see that Rick Brunson is a guy who's been around the league, and really kind of paid his dues as far as a coach. I mean, he's been down at the D3 level, D1 level, served as assistant coach in many different NBA franchises and did it without Thibs, and some stops did 2 stops with Thibs. So this isn't out of the ordinary, of Thibs hiring him as an assistant coach, right? This is par for the course, but we're not looking over there in LA and seeing what's going on with that. That's really robbing players of opportunities that may be more deserving, right? But and I'm not even blaming Bron from this. I'm just saying we got to be consistent with this type of thing. This isn't a guy who hasn't coached. This is a guy who coached several times, been on this guy that's a head coach in Tom Thibodeau. He's been on 2 of his staffs prior as an assistant coach. Now, if he's elevated to a new level, do we know that Jalen Brunson being there has something to do with that? Absolutely. Maybe the promotion does, but it's nothing outside of the rules, right? I don't know what the NBA could really say about this. This is a guy who's qualified to be in the position he's in. Players have taken pay cuts before. So it is what it is, right? And how can you prove that Jalen Brunson took that pay cut for him as opposed to trying to round out the roster? They bring in Cat. How that's not for roster flexibility? Mikal Bridges, what he'll be able to sign later, and those guys. So it's looked at as a selfless act, but they're trying to make it as if Jalen Brunson and his father did something selfish. So I just wanted to talk about that. I want to speak on that. I want to know you guys' thoughts, man. Is this worth even talking about? Because if we're not talking about what's going on in LA, why are we even putting any energy towards what Jalen Brunson and his father's doing? Let me know in the comments, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time.